Right, now we're live.
Good evening, good day, good afternoon. This is Miss Laughalot Nikki here with the carnivore historian George Goodenough, and he is going to tell us all about villains of the 19th century. How are you doing, George?
Hi, good evening, everybody. It's 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. over here in the UK, so it is evening my time, and the nights are drawing in now. We're well into the fall, as you guys call it, the autumn, as we call it. So it's nice to be back with Nikki, and very much looking forward to this evening. Yeah, I am the carnivore historian, but very much as I am more and more discovering I am very much the apprentice carnivore historian, because obviously it's not something we were taught at school. So it's something which I've picked up over the course of the last 3.5 years. But the deeper I dive into the people that I'm researching, the more the more I realise, the less I know. So it's going to be a very interesting project for me. But I do have the outline of a few people tonight, which I'd like to talk about. We'll call them the villains of the 19th century, because they were the ones who really set the path towards the plant-based diet that we see today. They were the precursors of the 20th century people who really pushed for the plant-based. But before that, Nikki, I think we've you and I, we've had an incredible week since the last time we spoke, which was last Sunday. The course is finished. We both got our certificates. Everybody passed the course. So yeah, how has your week been? Anyway, I've got a few things to tell you about mine. So how has your week been? Has it been exciting?
It's been exciting and super busy. I barely have time to think,
Yeah,
but that's good.
exactly.
Busy is good.
Yeah.
Definitely busy is
So
good. Yeah.
yeah, true. And yeah, I've just come off Sunday school, called Carnival Sunday School, as it's now called, and I just checked the guest list. And what do you know? You're next week's Carnival Sunday School guest. So we will be meeting again twice next Sunday. We'll be doing the Carnival Sunday School together, and then we'll be coming on to Club Carnivore as well. So Sunday evening is always busy for me. I always very much look forward to it. It's been a good week for me. So just to tell you a little bit about my week. My wife Lainey, as you know, is a cancer sufferer, and she has just started now, as of Wednesday, the 5-year randomized control trial for a new drug called elacestrant, which comes from Stemline Therapeutics over in New York. So it's been a very exciting week for us, and now she's very much involved with that 5-year randomized control trial. She's having to take the drug in pill form, and it is like a horse pill. It's huge. It's huge and it's blue, so it's the blue pill. She's just getting used to the side effects, which caused her a bit of nausea on the first couple of days, but she's got over that now, and life is continuing as normal. She's under very good care from the system, so that's very good. I relaunched my channel this week. My channel name is now Goodenough for You. And for the first time ever this week, I managed to actually come on to StreamYard as the host rather than the guest. I am the guest again tonight. And I managed to host my first video during the week, and I managed to upload it onto YouTube. And that was myself and Dr. Kiltz, which was a really big privilege, to say the very least. The doctor is, as we know, he's very, very friendly, put me totally at my ease. And we just had a good chat. As he said at the very beginning of the video, this is just a chat, George. This is a chat amongst friends, which is exactly what it felt like. So that was good. So the channel, and then on Friday, I got my certificate for the Kiltz Health coaching course, and also on Friday I received a notification from the Somerset Armed Forces Partnership, which is NHS sponsored, National Health Service sponsored, and I've been invited to a conference on November the 4th for veterans and also for health professionals. Last year I attended as a patient from East Key Medical Centre, which is my medical centre. They asked me who I would be representing this year, and I was able to put in the box Kiltz Health. So I shall actually be representing Kiltz Health at an Armed Forces Veterans Conference on November the 4th. Very excited about that. I won't be taking the stage because the organizer, Terry, although she really recognizes my story, she knows it goes against everything which she is supposed to teach, but she fully accepts the fact that I've had an incredible health turnaround. So she wants me there, and she says, It'll give you a chance to mingle amongst the doctors and the health professionals and tell your story. Last year, I had a very amusing story to tell from that, because I was speaking to a very nice doctor, and I told him my story and showed him my before and after photographs. He said, that's wonderful. He said, that must be Ozempic. I said, no, it's Carnivore. And he said, what? I said, I only eat meat. He said, what? So I explained to him, and I talked about some of our brilliant doctors in the United States. And he said, George, he said, even if what you're saying is absolutely true, and I've got no reason to doubt it. He said, but I can't do anything with it. He said, I'll get struck off if I start telling everybody they've got to stop eating vegetables and only eat meat. And I said, yes, doctor, that is because you are contractually obliged to perpetrate the lie. He didn't have an answer to it, really. He sort of made his excuses and disengaged the conversation with me, because I was a living proof of carnivore in front of him, and he didn't want to see it, because he knew that he would have to change his way of thinking if he took me seriously on board. Yes, that was a good week, and we've had a very nice weekend. I watched my other passion other than carnivore is the horse racing. So I watched the horse racing on the television yesterday, which is how I spend my Saturdays now. I'll run a little WhatsApp group for some horse racing people, and they're great fun as well. One of whom is full-blown carnivore, Celia. Celia lives over in Wales, very near Stephanie Taylor. And Celia has an amazing story herself. At the age of 61, she was forced to give up horse riding on account of the fact that age had overtaken her. She's now 72. And since going carnivore in her mid-60s, she is now firmly back in the saddle and is riding horses every day of her life. So she's got an amazing story. She will be at the Great British Meetup next year, and hopefully she'll be able to tell her story in person to Dr. Kiltz, because Dr. Kiltz is coming to the Great British Meetup next year as well. So that's going to be fun. And also on that group, I have Ashley Maunder. He is the carnivore caterer. He is the guy who does the catering through the Happy Hog Roast, his company, at the Great British Meetup. So there's a bit of crossover there between my two great passions in life, which is horse racing and carnivore. And then today I had a morning up at my local racing stables where I do a bit of PR work for the trainer. I talk about the history of the thoroughbred and the family trees of the horses that we actually have in the yard. So that was great fun. And then this afternoon, myself and Lainey went up onto the Quantock Hills, which are the local range of hills just above us here in Bridgewater. They're not exactly mountains, they're really quite small, but they're quite impressive in their own right. And we went looking for fungi, because we've within the group we've had a bit of a fungi conversation. It turns out that our great friend CB Carmack is a fun guy himself, but he's got an interest in the wild fungi as well. And we found a few, but it's been so dry here in the UK for the whole of summer, and it's carrying on really dry into the fall, that the fungi are having real problems to fruit this year, because what we see in the way of mushrooms or toadstools, that is the fruit of the mycelia, which lives underground. So the roots, if you like, are always underground, and the mushrooms themselves, they are the fruit of that particular life organism. It's not exactly a plant, not exactly a vegetable. It's kind of by itself. But we also saw some longhorn cattle up on the hills, which is nice, because the longhorns are a very unusual breed here in the UK. We usually see Herefords, Angus, Galloways, and in the world of dairy, Friesians. So that was nice to see. But I come back and we've done Carnival Sunday School already, and here we are now on the Club Carnival and we're about to have a look at some people. So anything you want to add, Nikki, before I go into my spiel about some of the people, the bad people from they're villains to us, but they are heroes to others. We do have to remember that one man's villain is another man's hero, but for us, they're definitely villains.
So, well, it's all up to you. Take it away.
Okay.
To listen to hear what we have to say.
Yeah. So as we know, we've already had a look at the some of the heroes, the forgotten heroes, if you like, of the 19th and the 20th century, the people that kept our movement going and allowed us to pick it up now in the 21st century, and the carnivore community and the low certainly the ketogenic and low carb community is growing very rapidly. A lot of people are actually going low carb who've never heard of carnivore, because the low carb message is getting out there very well. Even the British Diabetes Society is now talking low carb. They're not talking carnivore because it's kind of ladies upstairs. Yeah, it's the low carb, although is part of us as a community. A lot of low carbers would not regard themselves as being in the same space as us, but in fact they are. So it's great news that the message is getting out there. So 19th century, where it all began, where the movement towards plant-based began. And I've through my various studies over the course of the last 3.5 years, I've sort of watched people like Zoe Harcum, and she flagged up the history of the people involved, if you like. And it was through her that I learned about a chap called Sylvester Graham. Sylvester Graham is perhaps famous because of the Graham's crackers and Graham's bread. And I noticed that Lainey, my wife, is in chat, and she made an absolutely fabulous double cream sauce with a few flavoured by some of the wild mushrooms that we picked this afternoon, and it went with the veal. Yeah, we had some veal. It was absolutely brilliant. The mushrooms, as I say, were wild. It's a little nod back to paleo from us, because we wouldn't dream of buying mushrooms from a store, but if we figure that if we find them out in the field and I know what I'm doing, then it won't do any harm to make a sauce out of them. So that's what we did. You can take away my carnivore card if you want to, but I think for a couple of mushrooms in a bit of cream sauce to go with the veal, then I think we're safe. And one man who certainly wouldn't say that was a good idea. One man who certainly wouldn't say that was a good idea was, in fact, Sylvester Graham. Sylvester Graham was born in 1794, and he lived until 1851. So halfway through the 19th century, he lived. So that would have made him 57 years of age when he died, which is, even by that standards, was not a great age. Excuse me. He is known as the father of vegetarianism over in the United States. He was born in Suffield in Connecticut, and he was known as being a Presbyterian minister and a dietary reformer. Now, he had a bit of a strange start in life, to say the least. He was one of 17, as I say again, 17 children. So he had a very big family, and he was born to a 72-year-old father who died when he was 2. And his mother had a history of mental health. So he was effectively orphaned at the age of 2, and he lived with various relatives, including somebody who owned a tavern. And when he was living with that relative, he saw a lot of alcohol abuse, and saw the effects that had, which put him off alcohol from a very young age. He went to Amherst Academy with a view to becoming a minister, but because he was very unpopular there, possibly due to his very strange upbringing, he perhaps didn't fit in. He actually had a nervous breakdown and left the academy without graduating. But during recovery, he was looked after by a lady called Sarah Manchester Earl, and he fell in love with her, and they married, and they had 3 children. He carried on privately with his ministerial studies, and eventually became a Presbyterian minister in his own right. His teachings really emerged off the back of the cholera epidemic of 1826 or 1827 in Europe. And he then became very interested in nutrition as a preventative medicine. Now, at the time, it was felt that the best way to combat the cholera epidemic was to eat a heavily meat-based diet, supplemented with port wine, so a very strong wine. He was very anti-alcohol, so that straight away ruled out the port. And I think he basically thought, well, if the cholera is epidemic, then the meat protocol obviously isn't working. So I think that may be what was to influence him into going down the vegetarian route. And also there were a couple of other vegetarians emerging at the time. These names I've only just discovered today, so they will require a bit of research in their own right. But one of them was an Englishman called William Metcalf, and the other was an American called William Alcott. So Sylvester Graham became very anti-meat and also very anti-alcohol. And he was also he thought that a lot of illness was down to stress and overstimulation of the brain, which is kind of a crossover with us, because we are very much aware of the influence of stress and lack of sleep on our health. We know that the mental health starts in the gut and is very much linked to the brain by the vagus nerve, which I learned about the other day. So he obviously had an idea that stress was involved as well, but as with overstimulation, and he regarded sexual stimulation as something which would be a stressor. So he was very anti the idea of sexual stimulation, and he regarded meat as a driver for sexual stimulation. So he regarded meat as being a path to ill health through stress, basically. So that was his reasoning. So he was also very much had a puritanical view on life. He believed in cold baths and hard beds. But as I said, he actually married Sarah, and they did have 3 children. So it was obviously he was not totally averse to the idea of a bit of sexual stimulation. In 1850, Alcott, who we've mentioned, Metcalf, he established the American Vegetarian Society. So it became an official movement. The vegetarian movement became official through him in 1850, bearing in mind the fact he died in 1851. He also was so controversial in his anti-meat and anti-alcohol preachings that he actually caused 3 public riots at his rallies, one in 1833, another in 1834, and another in 1837. Such was the power of his public speaking. Now, he died at the age of 57, which is quite young, but he was very fond of opium enemas, which is a bit of a strange thing, which were it was complications to do with opium enemas. I can't work out whether it was the enema itself or whether it was the fact it was opium that actually caused him to expire, but he did indeed, and a lot of controversy surrounds that. But again, I am very much the historian apprentice. I need to go back to find some primary sources from that time. I need to research it more, and as we move forward together in this journey, then I will be doing more and more history work, and I will be a lot more knowledgeable in the future, but just bear with me. So just to run through those names again, in case anybody would like to actually research themselves. The guy that we're researching tonight is Sylvester Graham, Graham, and he had a couple of vegetarian supporters or vegetarian colleagues in William Metcalf, Metcalfe, and William Alcott, Alcott. So if you would like to go and research those for yourselves, then that would be a really good idea. I will be continuing my researches with them over the coming months, and somewhere down the line, there's probably going to be a carnivore history book coming from this computer. Anyway, Nikki, so that's Sylvester Graham taken care of. Any questions that you have about him, any feedback or anything you'd like to talk about yourself?
What do you think inspired him I'm not clear on what inspired him to not eat. Oh, it was the sexual something about.
Yeah, it was basically he regarded it was to do with cholera, and it was about disease prevention. He wanted to find a diet that would prevent disease. Now, at the time, the recommended cholera prevention diet was meat and wine, very strong wine. Now, he was very anti-alcohol because of his experiences living as a child in a tavern. So he saw the adult people around him abusing alcohol, so he was never going to be on board with the wine. But then he theorized that illness, chronic illness, or even acute illness such as cholera, if you were stressed, then you were more likely your immune, what we would now call our autoimmune system, would be compromised through the stress. So it was a very sort of early understanding of cortisol and the effects of stress on the human body and the human mind. He therefore meat he linked with sexual stimulation, as indeed did the people who came after him. Therefore, he believed that meat would make you more vulnerable to illness because it would stimulate you into a state of stress, your body into a state of stress. So that's the reason why he moved away from meat. So instead of, he went down looking for a preventative cure or a preventative medicine through diet, through the plant-based diet. So he then became known as the father of vegetarianism. So it wasn't so much an ideological idea in the same way that we would have nowadays. He wasn't squeamish about the animals. It was actually because he believed that was the best way of protecting one's health, was to avoid meat, alcohol, and therefore to by default become a vegetarian. So that's the reason. That, as far as I can make out, that is his reasoning. But again, I could do with finding some primary sources in his own words, if I can in the future, and all will become clear.
Okay, so the next person we have here.
Yeah, that's Sylvester. That's yes. Now here we go. So Ellen Gould White. Most people would have heard of Ellen because she was the founder of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So when it comes to, and I know that Mitch Old Guy Carnivore, for example, is a great fan of Ellen, shall we say? Let's not say fan, but he does enjoy talking about her. She's one of the founding members of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which is very influential in the dietary guidelines. They always have a seat on the board for that. And they are very much a vegetarian. Their ethos is very much vegetarianism, although having heard some first-hand reports of some modern-day Seventh-day Adventists, they are not averse to eating meat in the household, but traditionally they are vegetarian. She was born in 1827, so she was later than Sylvester Graham. She was born, her birth name was Harmon. She married James White, so she became Ellen Gould White. And at the same time, there was another chap around called Joseph Bates, who was also very much part of the vegetarian movement. She herself was a leading figure in the vegetarian history, as was her husband, James White. Right, so she was a prolific author. She wrote 5,000 articles, as in periodical articles or magazine articles, we would probably call them nowadays. And she also wrote 40 books. She was born in Maine, up in the northeast corner of the states there. And this is an interesting one to me. This kind of leapt off the page at me because her father was a hat maker. In other words, a hatter. Now, in English, and I imagine probably equally over in North America, we have a saying to be as mad as a hatter, because they were known for becoming very strange, which is where we get the Mad Hatter's Tea Party from in Alice in Wonderland. Now, the reason being is that the linings of hats back in those days were mercuric nitrate, or in other words, mercury. So Mercury would have been handled a lot by her father, and it's quite possible that if she was sort of involved in the stitching together, that she might well have had a lot of exposure to mercuric nitrate or mercury. And I'm wondering whether this is what caused her visions, because she had several visions from God in which she went into a kind of almost catatonic state, into a visionary state, almost like epilepsy. And I just made that link in my own mind in between the fact that her father was a hatter working with Mercury and the fact that she would swoon, she would lose consciousness. It looks almost like epilepsy. This is just a theory which I'd like to work on, but I need more time, as I said. So just bear that in mind. She had several public seizures, swoons, visions, as she calls them, in which she was visited by God. And it was during those that she was told that to eat meat was to encourage lust in the human psyche. So she became very much anti the idea of eating meat, again for the same reasons as Sylvester Graham, and as much as it was she regarded it as being a sexual stimulant. However, I think she was more religious in her views. He was looking at the cutting out of meat as being a stress reducer, which would help fight off cholera. Whereas I think she was very much, it was because she was a very religious person, and she regarded the very act as a sin, and the very idea of lust as a sin. So it was more about her relationship with Jesus and with God, rather than the actual the practical idea of stopping disease itself. She was raised as a Methodist. However, her family became influenced by the Millerite movement. Again, the Millerite movement is something which I've only just discovered today when I was researching this, so that needs more research on my part. But they were disfellowed from the Methodist Church, so she found herself churchless to all intents and purposes. She and her family became churchless. So the solution to that was to set up her own church, and the church that she founded in this state of being, if you like, excommunicated from the Methodist movement, was the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which she set up with Joseph Bates and her husband James White. And that was, I've lost the date there. I believe it was 1850. So it was just before the death of Sylvester Graham. She also, she had 4 sons, by the way. So she had a normal married life, shall we say, behind closed doors. There can be no question about that, because she was married to a man, James White, who definitely, in his own words, I've managed to find some primary sources on him. He actually loved her very, very much indeed. She was his shining light and his reason to be alive. So she founded the Battle Creek Sanitarium, which is the famous place where John Harvey Kellogg was to launch his campaign from. And she also founded the Loma Linda Sanitarium, which is still going itself very strong today. It was featured in the Blue Zone series as being a place where people lived longer than expected, and they put it obviously down to the vegetarian lifestyle. But of course, along with the vegetarian lifestyle also goes a very, shall we say, they care about their health. They do a lot of exercise. They don't stay up late. They don't drink. Certainly don't smoke. So they have all these confounding factors, we might say. So they live a very heavy, healthy overall lifestyle. So yeah, so Battle Creek Sanitarium and Loma Linda were hers as well. She died, as I say, in 1915, so she lived for quite some time, in fact. So 1827 to 1915. So she had 73, 83. So she was well towards her 90s. So she obviously that was quite long-lived, quite longevity at that time. So she's a very interesting person. But she unfortunately has undue influence really to this lasting day, because the Seventh-day Adventists still have they punch above their weight, shall we say, within the dietary guidelines that are reviewed every 5 years. They are always guaranteed a place on the board. So it's a very sad. But again, to me, the most interesting thing was that she would have been subject or exposed to mercury as a child because of her father's workshop. And I do wonder whether that was really what caused her to lose consciousness, to have visions, to have seizures, etc., etc. It's going to need some more work, more research on my part. We'll just have to look into that. Okay, so that was the founding of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and from my own point of view, I can actually tell you that when myself and Lainey go to our local hospital in the county town of Taunton in Somerset, every time we drive to that hospital, on the left we pass a very modest building, and on it is the home of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Taunton in Somerset, England. So the Seventh-day Adventists are far from being restricted to Battle Creek and Loma Linda. They are in fact all around the world, and we have, if I wanted to go and visit a Seventh-day Adventist church, I have one maybe 12 miles from me. So they are pretty much everywhere. So that was the founding of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So over to you, Nikki, if you've got any questions, any follow-up points about Ellen Gould White. Nikki, you're on mute. Well, I can't hear you anyway. Yeah.
I'm good. It's very fascinating. I'd like to actually look more into it for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, can I just point out that, like I said, I'm very much the apprentice here tonight when it comes to carnivore historians. But I don't think there are many. But I don't think there are many actual carnivore historians out there. I think there's people like Zoe Harkham who have sort of just looked at people that we're talking about tonight. But I'm not aware of any books on the certainly on the overall people, because it's very easy to say, oh yeah, we've all heard of Sylvester Graham, Ellen White, and John Harvey Kellogg, who are coming up. We've all heard of them, but what do we really know about them other than the really basic details? And increasingly, as I'm looking at the main characters of the history, including the good guys, I'm also finding that they had a supporting cast around them as well, all of whom do require a bit of research into their own right. So it's becoming quite clear to me that my ongoing role will be to prepare notes and history lessons with a view to a book in the future. And this is, I am really just scraping the surface at the moment. But what I'm trying to do is basically give our viewers just a few names out there. So if they've got any interest, they can actually go and start researching it for themselves. I'll be certainly very, very fascinated to hear of anybody who goes and finds anything which we can club together, and this is Club Carnival, that we can actually pull together and start producing some interesting stuff. So that's the level I'm at, very much the carnivore historian apprentice, but I'm enjoying doing it, and I'm hoping I can and Juliet's saying that she's loving doing it. I know she has a very inquiring mind, so who knows, perhaps this first coaching course of from Dr. Kiltz, perhaps we can actually provide the background, the context, if you like, of where carnivore comes from by studying the history. So that's a part of my remit for the future, shall we say?
Yeah, in order to figure out where we're going, it's so important to figure out what happened before. How did we get here, right?
How did we get here? Exactly. That's most yeah. So understanding how we got here, it does help to understand the mess that we're in now and how it came. So yeah, with Sylvester Graham, it was a genuine desire to improve health. With Ellen White, it was very much an ideology, her relationship with Jesus and with God. She felt that she was doing their work by preaching against meat. People have got their different reasons for doing it. We shall see in future times. J.D. Rockefeller, for example, we might mention him at the end of this. He was driven by money. Ansel Keys was driven by fame. The silly sins, basically, which is something for another greed and avarice and ambition, I suppose. I don't think ambition is one, but so ambitious people who wanted money, they led us down the wrong route, and we are doing our best to try and turn the ship around now. But I was watching Professor Seafried the other night, and he described the cancer treatment as like a huge ocean liner, and he is one man trying to turn a whole ship around, and it's going to take him a long time to do it. He's very much aware of that fact, because basically this ship is sailing off into the horizon in entirely the wrong direction, and there is one man trying to turn around a huge ocean liner manually by himself, and it's not easy. And it's the same for us as well, because this ship has long since sailed, largely due to these people that we're mentioning, and we are only a very small crew, and we are trying to manually turn it around. But we are winning. We are making inroads into the thoughts of people. I actually, up at the stables today, I was talking to a chap who his wife died a few years ago. He gave up drinking last May. He follows me on Facebook, and he said this morning, my breakfast was bacon and eggs, and he said, and my lunch is going to be 2 fillet steaks with eggs. I said, are you carnivore? He said, not exactly. He said, I still eat some veg when I go out, but he said, at home, the wife's gone. I love meat. It's very, very simple. I appreciate what you do. I've seen what you've done. So he said, yeah. He said, I've got no problems with eating meat only. So we're winning in strange ways. This guy's not in no way is he a carnivore like us. He's not part of the carnivore community as such, but he just likes meat, and he finds it easy, and he's not having to worry about his wife, what she wants, or anything. So for himself, why not just eat meat? It's what I like. But if we get people like that, and yeah, I suppose my role is what I've done is I've actually shown him that you can do it, that you don't need the vegetables. So therefore, he's got no problems about just eating the meat. But it's little victories like that in the game of life that make it all worthwhile for us to actually be doing what we're doing. Even small victories like that, which is not a complete conversion, but he's improved his health, and he's given up the alcohol, and he's gone mostly carnivore, ketovore we would call it, I suppose, or hyper carnivore. So yeah, that was a good feeling that I got from the stable today as well. So yeah, it's another small victory in the game of life, as I like to say.
And how many carnivores do you think are in the world right now?
Right. What I usually do is to answer this question is I say, go to Ken Berry's YouTube and look at I think if anybody is serious about carnivore, then they probably are subscribed to Ken Berry. Now, I don't watch Ken anymore, but I'm still subscribed because I want my subscription to count on the number of subscribers that he has. Now, his current number of subscribers is, last time I looked, and I haven't looked in the last couple of weeks, was 3.5 million.
Wow.
So I think that might be a fair reflection, but it's the best guess at the end of the day. So I don't know, but we're on our millions now. So this is the answer I usually give. How many of us are there? Go and have a look at Ken Berry's subscribers, 3.5 million, probably in that ballpark figure, I'd imagine. But I might be wrong. I might be wrong on either side. There might be 10 million of us out there. There might be only 1 million, but I'm sure there's at least 1 million, and we're growing. So yeah,
people just figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
just figure it out. Yeah, and when I eat that, my body
hurts. Exactly. Well, I figured it out for myself through the nurse who just told me with 4 words, all carbs are sugar. She didn't say go carnivore. She didn't say eliminate all plants. She didn't say eat meat only. She just told me that all carbs are sugar. And then I was able to go and work it out for myself. So yeah, you're absolutely right. People are working it out for themselves, but sometimes they need that little bit of a push, a little bit of a prompt, a little bit of coaching, dare we say. Apparently there are far too many of us coaches out there in the world now, according to one authority, but hey ho, we can't please all the people all the time, can we? But we can't all coach each other. So what we've got to do is we've got to go and find people like my friend Chris I was talking to today, the guy who's gone mainly meat-based, and you've got to give them encouragement. And also before the owners turned up today, I was able to have a chat with the trainer's wife, and she was talking about one of our owners who recently had a stroke. We were talking about the pharmaceutical that was around in 2020, shall we say? And she was saying the number of serious autoimmune diseases like strokes and cancer that she has noticed herself since that time, especially in the racing industry. This is really interesting because in the horse racing industry, it was a public sport. So they were all contractually obliged to accept the medicine back in 2020. Without doing that, they could not go and do their jobs. So it was another case. It was a bit like the nurses. I know that you guys over there had a similar thing, certainly in the US of A. I'm not sure about Canada. But yeah, they were all professionally obliged to accept something which was tested for a few weeks. Yeah, so there is a lot of, I think there is the knock-on effects of what's happened in the last 5 years is that there is a lot more critical thinking now out there. People are actually thinking for themselves. And there is, what happened 5 years ago has caused a doubt in a lack of faith in the establishment. Because as we've spoken about, my wife Lainey, she is now on a 5-year randomized control trial. The study drug will not be allowed onto the market until after that. And this is, I think, phase 3 of this randomized control trial, because there was another one which I believe was 5 years, and that has now come to an end. So this drug would have been tested in randomized control trial conditions for 10 years before it can even go onto the market. How long did the pharmaceuticals of 2020 take to hit the market? Weeks, months at best. How can they possibly have carried out a satisfactory randomized control trial? What was it all about? This is what people are now asking. What was it all about? Anyway, that's we're in danger. Yeah, we're in danger.
I won't even.
We are very much in danger of going down that route, and we're in danger of losing the channel. So we'll come off that subject, shall we? So that's that's interesting. I see we got the class. So somebody's put the word out to the class. Class has just arrived. We still got 18 minutes to go. But welcome, class. It's nice to see you. We've just been talking about how wonderful it is this week to graduate from the course. I don't know about if anybody else here is in it, but they've for some reason have invited us to go back and do it all again. And as I'm not doing anything at 8 p.m. UK time on a Wednesday evening, there's nothing I'd rather do than hang out with some excellent people. I already know 2 people who are going on the next course. One of whom is Pumi. Who was a guest on Carnivore Sunday School last week, I think, or the week before. And she's an excellent lady from Zimbabwe, now lives in the UK. So I'm very much looking forward to sort of being in the same class as her. And there's somebody else as well, but I can't think who it is. It's somebody else we know quite well. Can't remember, but it's somebody else that I'm looking forward to being part of. And if any of you guys are going to come and sit in, and of course the great thing about it is that we're all friends with Dr. Nelson now, and I would really miss Dr. Nelson on the Wednesday night if I did get a chance to catch up with him.
All of you, not just him, all of you. Right?
Exactly. So so I mean, one thing that I can't remember, I think it might have been Juliet said that. I said, well, I'll go in there, I'll sit in. I won't try and take over. She said, George, you're no good at keeping quiet, but just watch me. I'm going to try and respect the fact that this course is not so much about us. It's more about the course 2 people. So yeah, I intend to go and, not try and take over the class or anything, and let the course 2 people have the limelight, shall we say. But I'm very much looking forward to it. And I say it's great to see everybody here turning up tonight. So everybody's having a chat amongst themselves, greeting amongst themselves, which is great, isn't it? Oh, it's been a wonderful experience since July the 1st when we did the very first Zoom call with Alia, the orientation call. None of us knew each other. I sat back very, very shy. Yes, I was shy. Anybody who's out there who says that I'm not, I was very shy that night because I was the only Brit on the class, apart from Stephanie and Nikki, who I already knew. In fact, no, I didn't know Nikki at the time, actually. That was interesting. Yeah, I'd never met Nikki, but I did know Stephanie. In fact, me and Nikki, it's Nikki is Stephanie's sister. In fact, that was quite an amusing meeting. So I actually met Nikki on August 1st because she came down for the Great British Meetup, she and Stephanie, and they came and stayed. I put them up in a hotel about 300 meters away from, everybody thanks, Juliet. They about 300 meters from me. So when Steph and Nikki came in, I knew what Nikki looked like because I'd seen her photograph before, but I didn't know her. I knew that she was Steph's younger sister, and I thought that she would be because she doesn't do YouTube and she doesn't do many interviews. I thought she was kind of shy and retiring. So I thought, well, I better be a bit more gentle with Nikki. Obviously, Steffi, as we know, is very confident. So I met Steph. We had a quick hug. And then I went up to Nikki, was going to shake her hand. Big mistake, because Nikki then she wanted the hug too. And I didn't realize at the time, but she has recently become a bodybuilding athlete. And so I very nearly lost a couple of ribs to that particular bear hug. And then exactly, yeah. Far from being the shy and retiring younger sister, Nikki is in fact a very much an outward going and a great fun character herself. So yeah, kind of. Although we don't see, Nikki has spoken in class. We don't see as much of her on YouTube as we do Steph. But believe me, she is not the shy and retiring younger sister. She is very much a leader amongst Carnivore, shall we say? And she is part of the committee for the Great British Meetup next year. So she will be at the Great British Meetup again, helping out and with the planning and everything else. Hopefully, we'll be staying at the Tudor Hotel as well. Let's get a plug in for the Tudor because I intend to put Dr. Kilt's up there at the same time. So we're going to have quite a good set of the KMT, shall we say, up at the Tudor Hotel next year over the course of the Great British Meetup. So if anybody's thinking of coming over from the States, or if anybody's thinking of traveling internally within the UK to get there, then we'll try and book the Tudor out. It's only got 17 rooms, so it would be nice to actually take it over as a Carnivore convention hotel for the course of that Great British Meetup. Oh, my voice is getting a bit sore. I've already done Carnivore Sunday School, but I see if we're talking about an hour, we still got 15 minutes. So I think probably the best thing to do is if we've just for the class, we've dealt with Sylvester Graham of Graham's Crackers. He was fairly crackers himself, and we've dealt with somebody who I suspect was completely crackers, and that is Ellen White, because her father was a hatter, a hat maker, and would have had a lot of mercury in his workshop, and hatters were known for having mental health problems due to the fact that they handled mercury quite a lot, and it got into their brains. So we'll move on to John Harvey Kellogg. I haven't got as much. I haven't really got any notes about him at the moment. Well, that's Ellen White, which is appropriate on account of the fact that that's Rockefeller, J.D. Rockefeller, who will be coming on to next week. No, we haven't got John Harvey Kellogg, but I think most of us know what John Harvey Kellogg looks like. He looks like a rooster who on the he looks. We know what the Kellogg's cornflakes box looks like. He's a rooster on the front of a sort of red and green and white packet. But anyway, John Harvey Kellogg's. There's plenty of photographs out of him on the internet out there. So anybody who wants to look him up can do. Yeah, so he was a child who came under Ellen White's influence. She was a prolific writer, but it was a time when printing was coming into there he is. There's good old John Harvey Kellogg, the man who provided my breakfast cereal for 56 and a half years of my godforsaken life. Thanks, mate. I was a cornflake fan. You know, Frosties, they're great. They certainly were. And Weetabix and Shreddies and various other things. And that's what left me as a 293 pound mess. So cheers, John Harvey Kellogg. And of course we used to add sugar and milk to it as well. Ooh, how could we have been so stupid? Anyway, such is life. So he was we didn't know. Better, right? Exactly, yeah. We didn't know. We didn't know what we didn't know. That was the thing. What we thought we knew was that it was healthy.
We thought they were healthy.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. We trusted my parents. Oh, my parents actually switched me from white toast to brown toast when I was
Oh,
young,
yes.
because apparently brown toast was a lot healthier because it was full of roughage, which is the old-fashioned word for fibre. Oh my God, it's hard to believe now, isn't it? Knowing what we know. Anyway, so let's get back to good old J.H. Kellogg. He was a 12, 13-year-old boy when he came under the influence of Ellen White, and he became her typesetter for publishing, her publisher, in other words. And then he was sponsored by the Seventh-day Adventists to go and get a doctorate. He became a medical doctor and based himself at Battle Creek Sanitarium, which was the Nikki, everybody's saying that original link which failed, that's what everybody got stuck in there. So we're going to have to get that sorted out for next week. Yeah,
see,
which is a shame.
Sharon, thank you for telling me, because my link disappeared. Like I created the link on Friday, and then I had to make a new one. It was very interesting because George didn't have it, so it was the gremlin.
Yeah, exactly. So
Friday, I had to make a new one now. So sorry about
yeah,
that.
so
I was wondering what was happening there.
Yeah, exactly. It's lovely to see you all here, and basically, I think hopefully you'll forgive us because we are all new to this game. Nikki's ahead of where I am. I think probably of all of us, it's Juliet who's leading the way because she's gone from about 80 subscribers up to 700 or something in the last couple of weeks. So fair play to Juliet, and she's very good, very professional as well. So perhaps we should take some lessons from her. But anyway, yeah, we apologize for the fact that you got stuck, but lovely to see you here, and thank you for sticking with us. Exactly. And I was talking about the fact that I was put over to brown toast because that was so much better for me than white toast. Yeah, okay, no, not to worry. Yeah, but good old John Harvey Kellogg, he went to Battle Creek Sanitarium, absolutely believed that meat drove lust. Really believed that lust was a sin, led to people doing unspeakable things to themselves. And wanted to stamp it out. So he had to get rid of the idea of eating meat, but it had to be replaced. So what happened in the end was Kellogg's cornflakes and the Battle Creek Sanitarium. He had some very strange habits himself apparently. Anthony Chafee talks about it.
I've been thinking about this all week since
show.
What the hell
I haven't actually had the chance to fully investigate it or go back to Anthony Chafee, but I know that just like Sylvester Graham, who had the opium enemas, I know that Kellogg had enemas. Yeah, I think we all know what an enema is. It was a complication.
It's a painkiller, right?
Yeah, exactly. But our great friend Anthony Chafee, Dr. Anthony Chafee, believes that the Kellogg enema was so powerful that he believes that there might have been an ulterior motive behind it. I am sat amongst a group of lovely ladies here, and I am treading on very, very delicate subjects here. So, yeah, there might have been an ulterior motive for the energy behind the Kellogg enema, according to Dr. Anthony Chafee, shall we say? Okay, right. So, yeah, there was. This is interesting. I wonder if anybody out there has heard of the film "The Road to Wellville." The Road to Wellville. Okay, so Wellville being all one word, Wellville. It's an adult film in the sense that there is nudity and there are some sexual content. It's not a porn film or anything, but it's a satire on Battle Creek Sanitarium. It's actually set in Battle Creek. And it touches on some of the treatments that we've just discussed, and various other ideas that Kellogg had, and also about the fact that there were other people trying to imitate him at the time, and people trying to market his product under the Kellogg name, because obviously there was more than one Kellogg in the family, and he did have a bit of competition. And it's actually Charlie Sheen, I think, played his cousin or something, and a couple of people trying to use the Kellogg name. They were trying to make their own cornflakes. It's absolutely a hilarious film. If you are of a very, very sensitive nature, it probably isn't for you. But if you have a fairly broad adult mind, then I think, and you would like to have a laugh at the expense of John Harvey Kellogg, then I can highly recommend the Road to Wellville. I think, yeah, at that point, Nikki, it's coming up. We've got 5 minutes to go because I would like to leave at 9 because it's I like to keep these to an hour because, as you can probably hear, I've had a very hectic week with various interviews, and the voice is getting a little hoarse. It's what we call a pony over here in the UK. That's a little horse. Yes. Yeah, so that's an in-house racing joke that we talk about when we've been shouting our horses home on the race course. We end up as a pony, a little horse. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to say that I've given you the overview of Sylvester Graham, Ellen Gould White, and now John Harvey Kellogg. So I'll run those 3 names past you again: Sylvester Graham, Ellen Gould White, and John Harvey Kellogg. If you wish to go and research those further, as I will be doing, because as I said, I am very much the historian's apprentice at the moment, because the more I study, the more I realise, the less I know. So I've got a lot more study to do before I can actually start writing books. Maybe one day will be doing one day in the future as part of my coaching program, on account of the fact that if you can explain why it all went wrong, where it all went wrong, we might have a chance of actually fixing it and explaining why we are fixing it. Just to let you know that next week, probably what we'll do is, because I only just touched on John Harvey Kellogg, we will start with him next week, and I will do the big deep dive. Play on words there. I'll go and find the Anthony Chaffee references to him. I'll go and find some primary sources, and he'll be my main focus. And we're also to look ahead into the next century, the 20th century, and the J.D. Rockefeller question, because Rockefeller was one of the richest Americans of all time. He was a petrochemical, obviously the petrol guy, but he also bought out the medical industry using the money from petrol and turned it into a pharmaceutical based, not a natural based allopathic cure, basically. So he is definitely one of the evil guys. But yeah, we'll do it. We will start off with revisiting the relatively fun character who is John Harvey Kellogg. We obviously mustn't lose sight of the fact that he did a lot of damage, but he's an easy man to ridicule in many ways. The road to Wellville did it absolutely fabulously. Okay, class, I'll tell you, I'll give you a challenge. I'll go and do it myself. Go and find the Road to Wellville somewhere, either on DVD or somewhere on Netflix or something. Watch the Road to Wellville this week. I'm gonna see if I can get my wonderful wife Lainey to track it down for me. I don't think it's on YouTube. You might have to buy it on YouTube. I don't know, but I'm going to set myself a task. I'm going to go and watch the Road to Wellville just to remind myself. Because I actually saw it in the cinema when it first came out, and I don't think I've seen it since. So I need to watch it again. But I remember laughing my head off at it. It was a brilliant film, a really, really good film. So it's now coming up to 58 minutes. We're coming up to what we would call the school bell time over at Sunday School Carnivore, or Carnivore Sunday School, as I should be calling it nowadays. And next week, class, can I just point out we have a very special guest on Carnivore Sunday School next week? It's Nikki. So you'll be seeing us twice in the same room next week, and those of you who come to school and then come to Club Carnivore afterwards. So that's it. I'm going to hand back to the hostess now, the hostess with the mostess, to sign off. And I'm going to say good night to everybody. As I've still got one or two things to do over here in the UK. It's now 9 o'clock in the UK. I want to be in bed by midnight, because I want to be on with you guys on the KMT in the morning, of course. So I will see all you guys in chat at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I think so. With Dr. Kiltz and Dr. Nelson and Alia, hopefully. It will be 11 o'clock my time over here. So I will be ahead of you, and it means that I don't have to get up ridiculously early. Although, because I'm on Eastern Standard Time, it's the same as you guys. Anyway, back to you, Nikki.
Okay, thank you. And I still got to talk to George about this, and see what you think. But
go on. No, we can carry on. We can carry on.
Well, I'm thinking about blocking out like the whole next month and just planning out the shows. And what I want is I see us all cooking and I see us doing like a cooking challenge. So like if you'd like to, and then I thought about what if, people are fundraising everywhere, right,
Yeah,
for Carrie Mann, and they're having meetups.
absolutely.
What
Which
if
is
we
what we
met up
did in the summer.
here
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we did the same thing? Like that would cut out plane trips and cut out whatever. So what if, and I saw us all cooking. What if
A
people
meetup.
come
Yeah, absolutely.
to the
Absolutely. Yeah.
and and
But
and another way for me to confirm that, so you and I, nobody touches the money, but they send it to Carrie Mann's thing. What is it, a Patreon? So that everybody can see that where the funds are coming from, right?
yeah, don't donate now. I think it says so. Yeah,
Yeah. So if
you
we
can
send it,
donate directly.
I had a goal last winter. I thought I wanted to raise 30 grand. I thought, well, what if we just every show we do
Yeah,
something and we come up with something fun to do, and instead of meeting, like for those who cannot travel,
yeah,
we do
yeah.
it here. Just want to run that
Voluntary.
by you and see what you think. And
Yeah,
what the community thinks too. What
yeah.
do you
Sort
all
of. I
think?
mean, they call it Snapchats on there. So, maybe a dollar a show or something. That's I think I've got a few dollar bills, actually, literally dollar bills in my drawer for my trip to Wyoming. So yeah, yeah, I think that's a good idea. And when it comes to cooking, it probably won't be me. It's more likely to be Lainey, because she made an excellent mushroom and cream sauce, wild mushroom and cream sauce, I hasten to add, this evening, which is absolutely delicious. So she's the expert when it comes to cooking. But if you want to see me put a raw steak on a plate, cover it in melted butter, and then put 2 fried eggs on top of it, you're more than welcome to do so. But that's my idea of cooking.
That would be fun. And the thing is, we don't need to get all complicated, but I mean, just if I just saw like everybody, like if we all met here and we're all on stage and then we all are just eating something, maybe you've already cooked it,
Yeah,
but we're
exactly. Yeah,
eating a meal, we're cooking a meal. Maybe you want to show us how you did it, but
yeah,
everybody's
yeah.
doing their thing, right?
Okay, yeah, yeah, not a bad idea,
I think
Nicky.
that'd be fun.
It's something for us to work on, isn't it? And certainly, if we got any ideas from the crowd as well, from the
Yes,
audience,
what you
from
all
our
think.
lovely
Like, do you
class.
think
Yeah,
that's a good idea, or do you think
yeah.
that's a
Let us
silly
know.
idea, or
Yeah.
what do you
Okay.
think?
So there's 2 missions for you, class, for next week. Then one is to go and watch the road to Wellville, and the other one's to come back with go away and think about what Nicky has just said, and come back with ideas about how we can develop Club Carnivore, because it is a club, and we are all part of the same club. Those of us who are class members, and anybody who comes in from outside who wasn't necessarily a class member, we're all part of the same team. We're all part of the same gang now. Right. Anyway, my
Yes,
voice is
and
just about
one more
giving. Go on,
One
Nicky.
more thing, sorry. If you
Yeah.
want to be on the show right now, I don't know how to bring you up. If I give you the link, but if you want to email me, just email me. Those in class, you can just email me and I'll send you the link if you want to be
Yeah.
on at
Yeah.
any
It's
time, right?
Yeah, just to give you just to make it clear, there is a difference between the StreamYard and the YouTube link. The YouTube link gives you access into chat, but like
Right,
we were discussing earlier, you need to send anybody who wants to be on the show. They need the StreamYard link, and it's really
right,
quite simple, because all they've got to do is you send them the email like you did to me. You press on the StreamYard link, you go into the backstage, enter the studio, you appear in the bottom left-hand corner, and then you, as the hostess, could add anybody you want, up to as many people as your StreamYard version will allow onto the screen. It's not
right.
difficult, but what you have to be clear on is the fact that the YouTube link is not the same as the StreamYard link. And another thing, when you
Isn't that fun figuring all that out?
when you're watching YouTube and somebody invites you on via StreamYard and sends you the link, get into the studio and then shut your YouTube, because if you go into the studio and you go onto the show on StreamYard and you've got YouTube running in the background, you get about a 5-second delay and you hear yourself back. So make sure, if you are watching the show on StreamYard and you're part of the show, switch off the YouTube. Otherwise, it gets really, really. It's a mistake that I made twice when I first started doing it. And I've seen other people make the same mistake as well, but I've been able to put them right. Like I said, we're all starting to learn, and this is all a great learning process. It really is. So there we go. My voice needs a coffee or something. It needs my brain needs a
Okay, well,
coffee, definitely.
thank you so much, everybody, for joining. We'll see you next week. And yeah, in the future, I'm going to change the time. I'm going to have an appointment that I'm going to get to coming in November. I'll have to change the time to an hour before, if that works for you. No?
If you want me, I can't do it, because the hour before is the minute that I finish Carnivore Sunday School, so I can't.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
so that now.
You need some time.
Yeah, so but if you want to turn it into a more general show, then without necessarily me coming on maybe halfway through, then we could do that. That'd be fine. Yeah, that would be. I could come on 5:30. So if you were to get going with a guest, and then if I was to join you on StreamYard at 5:30 with maybe a history topic for the week, for example.
Yeah.
But that's something for us to discuss, isn't it? Really? Yeah. So there we go.
Not till November, anyway.
No, not till November. Exactly right.
Not till November.
Okay.
Things change. But
yeah, that's it. I will stay on with you in the studio for a couple of minutes afterwards, Nikki, if you want. Yeah, exactly. The after party. By the way, guys, that's when we break out the beer and the chips.
Thank you,
really.
everybody. We'll see you next week.